Hi, hello everybody, how are you doing? Today I got another guitar for you. This is going to be a Washburn Acoustic. Let's see, is there a model in there? Yeah, model D10. So, this is a friend of mine's guitar. I told him I'd clean it up for him. And I'm going to post this and just show you guys how I clean the guitars, acoustic guitars, because I think I've only done electrics on this channel. So I'll show you how I clean this guitar and kind of show you things I would do if it were my guitar and wanted to do a little extra repairing, but I'm not going to do that on this guitar since I just told him I'd clean it. I'm going to go through, I'll tell you real fast, so we're going to clean the dust off the headstock and give this fretboard a nice cleaning, the actual fretboard, and then the frets as well. We're going to polish them up and get them looking nice, as well as giving the body a little bit of a wipe down, and that's basically it. There's things like between the bridge here is kind of cracking and falling apart, and normally if it were me I would put a little bit of super glue in there and then get clamps and clamp it down, but I don't want to potentially mess up this guitar since I didn't tell him I'd be doing that kind of stuff. Okay, so while I have these old strings on, I kind of want to do a close-up and show you how old and nasty they are. I want to try using this and see if I can bring super old strings back like this back to life, because they're kind of supposed to look like that. Even that's aged, but you can see how dull they are, and it's just because this is old. They've probably been on here for a long time. So I'm going to try to fix these up and with this just to see what it does, and then I do want to change the strings. I just wanted to experiment so you guys can come along for the ride, see if this is worth it. Yeah, it's like the worst noise ever. Holy crap, it's disgusting. Okay, so like what I thought, it did nothing. It looks pretty much the same. It feels rough. That one seems like a gimmick. So if anything, that kit, it is a nice kit. I've been using it, but it could do without this. I think I also don't like about it, it's got that little dabby top, and it's like you have to put real pressure on it, and by that time you're getting to the fretboard, so then you're putting whatever this is into your fretboard. Yeah, it doesn't seem worth it, but maybe I'll find a use for it, or I'll just get rid of it. Here is a better shot of the fretboard. You can kind of see the grime, especially up here where probably most chords and most it's been played its whole life, and there's the dust. I have a little pick here that I've been using, and I'll just simply use it to get right up next to the fret and pull the junk out of it. And I'm just lightly scraping. I'm not doing any heavy scraping, not digging in. I just want to remove the dirt and grime. Okay. And I will finish this up and not make you watch the rest of it, but one last thing I'll tell you is as you're going through and scraping this, you might push out fret ends that were filed, so just be ready to file those away, or I'll show you a different method with like a sanding sponge, which you can use if you don't have a file, to kind of just clean up these ends and make them not as sharp. Okay, so normally with fret ends on the side, if you just wanted to kind of go through and clean them up, you can use something like this. It has a flat side for when you rub this on the fretboard here. You're going with the flat side and you're just taking off the edges. That's if like you have really pokey fret ends. But if you don't, you can use something a little less abrasive. That's going to help kind of clean this up, which is this, like a sanding sponge. So I'll show you how I use this one. And it's going to get pretty much everything, and most people have access to this pretty easily, so I'll use this here, and you just kind of have it at the angle of the fret ends. You just clean it right on up, and I'm just lightly doing this. I'm not trying to apply big pressure or anything, just trying to lightly sand the edges here. And then last thing is a fret file, is what I'll use to really get the nicks, if it has any, just to kind of round these. Instead of making them squared edges, I'll try to round them, just so that way we don't catch fingers when we slide up and down the fretboard with our hand. I have a fret file, which was like super cheap on Amazon. You can buy these, or if you don't want to do that, if you're like doing a one-time thing, I've used an emery board, like a fingernail filing board. Let's see, I've used one of these here. And I just like take it like this, and I just go with the fret here, and I just kind of give it a little bit of a taper. And it requires a little bit more work, and it's not as precise, but it does work if you're in a pinch. But definitely the best way is having a metal file. And you're just gonna go with it. You just bring, you want to be super light with your touch, as to not dig into the fretboard too much either. Yeah, so I will do that, and I'll get back to you. Okay, so next, I'm just bringing it out here on this different bench in the garage, mostly because I don't want to get steel wool in on my other workbench in the studio. But what I want to do is I'm going to use this 4/0 steel wool, which is like the finest steel wool I could get at Home Depot, like 11 bucks for a pretty big pack of it. It'll last you a long time. And you can use it on other things. You can, as well as cleaning, we're going to clean the fretboard with it and get all these rings out, but we can also clean the frets with it. And so I'll show you how to do all that within this. So if you're on an electric guitar, I've mentioned this in my past videos, but make sure you tape up your pickups so that no magnetic shavings attach to those pickups. Otherwise, it's incredibly annoying to clean. And you want to try to go with the grain. Sometimes I'll go back and forth like this to get it out, but then I'll finish by going with the grain, so that way the scratch marks left in here, they blend in with the grain. Yeah, and you can already see the difference between here and here. So another tool I mentioned is having a magnetic picking up tool. This is like a telescoping one that is used in automotive a lot, but taping it off and then going through and picking up your area of all the fibers. It's just great for quickly grabbing all this stuff because it gets everywhere. And you don't want this, you don't want little tiny metal shavings hanging around. So, I mean, look at that. It's awesome. And you can already kind of tell, like, the frets are a lot shinier than they were previously. I'm going to do a little bit more work to this, and then I'm going to go over them again with Frine, but yeah, looking great. And the reason why I'm using this protective guard, which you can just use tape, but the protective guard is keeping scratches from going back into the fretboard in the direction that I don't want. Yeah. One thing I'm noticing as I'm cleaning these is that these nuts are loose, the tuning pegs. I mean, look at how wobbly that is. So I'm gonna tighten that up. And I've showed this before, but the best way to tighten them is with a deep socket, and then you can tighten the screws on these if they have screws here as well. And I like to put them on here and then do it by hand rather than having the ratchet, so that I don't crank down too much pressure. Just basically getting them hand tight, but as tight as your hand can go without like cranking down. Like, know if you got strength, don't break it or don't strip these. Cool. And then screwdriver on the side here. Here's my. Next, I'm going to clean the body with this, the number 65. So I'm going to start with the headstock because it's definitely the dirtiest. Looks good. Alright, and then I'm going to get the sides and that should wrap it up, and then I'll put strings on this and show a final playthrough. And here's one last look at the guitar on the bench since I've cleaned it. It just looks really good, good. Beautiful. The fretboard just looks magnificent. And then I also lemon oiled this. I was hesitant to do it at first because of the cracking, but I was like, honestly, it probably needs a little more moisture to kind of help it like move without cracking, because otherwise, if it's dried out, it'll crack. Yeah, the guitar's looking great. Okay, so here's the guitar after some cleaning. As you can see, it's nice and pretty looking, super reflective, looks great, and plays great too.